Giuliani with the Rudy Giuliani Show. And I should tell you, this will be our last show for now at 3 o'clock. And we will be moving our show till 7 o'clock. And that'll be a week from Monday on Frank TV. And then all of the places it's covered, Roku, Apple TV, all the places. And also many places that you're familiar with. We'll get that all to you next week. We'll have a week off next week, transitioning, getting the show ready. And of course, our 8 o'clock show, America's Mayor Live, that's been on continuously now for how long, Ted? A year and a half, right?
Tonight will be episode 435.
435 times.
So
okay.
Double that.
2 times Ted filling in for me. Maybe twice, 3 times. Very ably, I may say. Dr. Maria a couple of times too.
This is our 87th. This will be the end of our 87th straight week.
87th straight week.
Yeah.
Without
interruption.
Without my taking a break.
No, we had to do. I hate having to say this, but we're so honest with our audience. We had to tape. One night we had to use a taped.
Oh, because I was getting an award. I was getting an award.
Yeah, you're getting an award. How dare you? You and all these awards.
With Stephen Bannon or something. Two potential,
but we didn't
convicts.
So we had a taped version of the show. But we
Bad
it was
would
still
be
a new show.
Jails. Imagine what we could do if we were in the same jail, Bannon and I. First of all, they'd all become conservatives, and I would use my small priestly training to convert them all to extremely honest Christians who would go fight for Christ when they come out of prison instead of commit crimes. It often works, by the way. Religious conversions do a lot to turn prisoners around, as well as drug addicts, I must say, alcoholics. Drug addicts, I think, the most. I mean, I've seen the religious thing work, and not just Catholic, but various evangelical faiths are fabulous at that. Anybody that wants to sneer at that, come over here. I'll punch you in the nose. I have to begin with America is under alien attack. And they are focusing on our women and children. Men, you like that? You like that? You like that we're focusing on women and children? We're letting them get beaten up and raped, and so we had another one. We had another one in Houston, Texas. Two men killed Jocelyn Nungare, 12 years old. I have to announce this every day. You know there are more than what I'm announcing. You can't believe how hard we're working on trying to dig this out. And we always get it late, right? Because originally they don't tell you anything about the person because they don't want you to find out. If there's any way to not make it an illegal alien, they will, including lie. This one I think would be kind of tough. It took place in Houston, Texas. The 2 men were arrested. I don't think we're going to have much problem with their being illegals. Johan Jose Rangel Martinez, ripe old age of 21, already raping and killing. And I guess it's good we caught him early, because you get a guy at 21 who's raping and killing. He's raping and killing until you put him away forever. A rapist, in my opinion, this kind of rapist, we're not talking about some kind of arguable date rape. We're talking about a rape murder. And one of the things that happened with the Me Too movement and everything else, which had a lot of good things about it, is it fogged up the real definition of rape and the crime I used to deal with when I was a prosecutor. I was a state prosecutor, so I did not deal with a lot of domestic violence, even rape cases. The only ones I'd ever get were cross state lines or on federal property, and they were horrendous. They're horrendous. And or child molesting, a little bit, not the kinds you would get with a state prosecutor. So my experience with drugs is much heavier, much stronger. than it is on these kinds of things. So what I know of this, I learned really as mayor, because I didn't think I knew enough about that. I went and did almost a course in child abuse and domestic violence before I became mayor so I could stem it. And I relied heavily on a report, still an excellent report, behind closed doors, and made major changes in the way we deal with domestic violence in New York and brought it down dramatically. Not that that hasn't been ruined too. I was just having lunch and I told someone about, they asked me, how did I feel about New York? And I said, New York, I love New York, but it makes me very sad because many people, I got the first one about 3 months ago. Now I've gotten maybe 7 or 8 of these, and they're all very kind. They're not being nasty to me. Don't you feel bad, Mayor Giuliani or Mr. Giuliani? Some even call me Rudy. I don't mind that. And they say, don't you feel very bad that all the work you did has been ruined? Wow. First guy that said it, I thought he was being a wise guy. And then I saw tears in his eyes, and I hugged him. Not everybody has tears in their eyes, but they all mean it in a, gee, we wish you were back. And they often say that. Would you please run again? Some guy the other day said, I don't care, run for mayor or governor. If you were governor, you take over the city. Just throw the mayor. I love how simple people think it is. It really isn't that simple. I made it, I'm going to say something really, they're all going to criticize, but I made it look easy, like Joe DiMaggio did, or Willie, who we talked about the other day. It wasn't that easy. And in those days, took a real beating. Although if you compare it to Trump, I got nothing to complain about until now. Until now, they're trying to take away my freedom and my law license for political reasons, purely. 6:15 a.m. on Monday, the body of a 12-year-old girl, Jocelyn Nungare, was found in a creek in northern Houston. I almost can picture where it is. My law firm used to be headquartered in Houston, and I spent 10 very nice years going to Houston quite a bit. Played golf there a lot. It doesn't explain. They say that surveillance video showed Martinez and Ramos meeting up with Jocelyn at a convenience store before they walked her to the bridge where she was killed. The girl sneaked out of her apartment the night before her death. It was a horrible scene, said Houston Police Chief Larry Satterwhite. Now, too much assumption? Did they lure her? This is another big problem, which brings in the internet problems. There is a tremendous amount of internet seduction of babies going on, where they get a young child. This one is 12. I'm not sure it happened with this one, so don't take this as gospel, but as a speculation. And then they, are you angry with your parents? Don't understand you. Your parents don't give you the things that you need. A lot of children have had this problem. They, you come to the Happy Valley juvenile retreat, and we'll take care of you, and we'll value you and love you and allow you to be who you. All this crap. And lure the kid out, and then they do a number of things: rape the kid, put the kid into involuntary servitude. Remember, we have the biggest human trafficking operation in the world due to Joe Biden. We never had it before until Joe Biden, just like we never had anywhere near the amount of death from fentanyl until we got Joe Biden and his border czar, Pamela Harris. Donald Trump, of course, called Patty Marin today. If I said that to Joe Biden, he would not know who Patty Marin is, or he mispronounced the name like he did with Laken Riley. Patty Marin is the mother of 5 who was killed by an El Salvadoran illegal alien who had come in and out of the country 4 times, the last time among the undetected. He has done, I'm sure, a tremendous amount of damage in the United States. We can document in 2 places. In Los Angeles, he did a brutal home invasion almost immediately upon coming across the border and beat the heck out of a 12 or 13-year-old child and I think the mother. Then wasn't caught for some period of time. I'm sure he was doing similar things during that period of time. They don't just do it once every 6 months. And then he ends up at Casino Park in Queens. He finds 2 13-year-olds coming home from school, a boy and a girl, takes out his machete, points it at them, pushes them into the forest part of Casino Park, and roughs up the boy, ties his hands, roughs up the girl, ties her hands, and then rips her clothes with the machete and rapes and kills her. He also says, although we hasn't produced yet, I don't think, he says that he videotaped some of it when he relaxed more, whatever that means. Problem is that Mayorkas and the president have been relaxing for 3.5 years, and we've been dying. And I don't know if there's something, if that American honor is what it used to be. But if it is, this should drive you crazy. This president is letting our women and kids be slaughtered for his political purposes. That's the only way you can describe open border. Don't tell me you're going to get hardworking people that are coming here to work, 20 hours a day to put their kids through school like the immigrants of yore. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that because you're a damn liar. They didn't come in with the help of the Mexican cartels. They didn't come in so that we could hide record amounts of fentanyl. They didn't come in so that we could hide record amounts of child trafficking. They didn't come in so that we could hide record amounts of terrorists coming in. They didn't come in so that we could hide record amounts of Chinese spies coming in. They're clogging up so much of the system. I don't know how many innocent people you're getting. And by the way, you're not getting any innocent people. Even the ones that aren't career criminals have certainly begun a career of crime. The first act in coming to America is committing a crime. I don't think we want people like that. I think we've been foolish and stupid to romanticize that. I think they get off on the wrong foot. Some of them overcome it, the vast majority, a big problem, and some extraordinarily dangerous. And the extraordinarily dangerous are growing swiftly and killing our women and children. You're going to sit by and let it happen and accept all of the bull from the biggest liar of all, Biden, Mayorkas, KJP? Or are you going to stand up for Americans? He doesn't. He sacrifices us. Everything now is being sacrificed to the political goal of his getting elected. He's double-crossing Israel. He's even double-crossing Ukraine. He doesn't want to win. Just wants to whack up money with them. That's an old, familiar thing for the Biden family. Well, we'll be right back, and when we get back, we're going to see what this headline means. Don't you like that headline? Swing for the fences. I didn't know that the president was a left-handed hitter. Maybe he's just playing around because he thinks he's Mickey Mantle. He loved Mickey Mantle, by the way. And if I put my name on something, I truly believe in it. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to something I'm incredibly proud of. My own brand of organic specialty coffee, Rudy Coffee. Believe me when I say it's the best coffee you'll ever try. It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting rudy.coffee. By supporting Rudy Coffee, you're not just treating yourself to exceptional coffee, you're also supporting our cause, the cause of truth, justice, and American democracy. You'll also be supporting the Call to Action nonprofit, which is devoted to helping veterans and first responders. So you can make a difference and taste the difference by ordering today at rudy.coffee. I have my own little camera here. I'm going to try to cut Ted out. Yeah, you can't see that one, but it looks awful. We need Ted. Ted, we need you. Don't go anywhere. I know Stephen and I were thinking that Raleigh could take your place, but rough. So there was a poll yesterday that I was fretting about, and the two political geniuses that are with me here, who work very actively in politics more currently than I have, so I have to defer sometimes to their current knowledge. Thought I was getting a little bit too, but I always believe in assuming the worst, and then being real surprised when it's the best. That's why I used to always start budgeting with the least projection of revenues I could make, which revolutionized New York City. Someday I'll explain that boring process to you when we have a rainy day, like a rain delay from something interesting. But it is enormously important. And a lot of people get it, and a lot of dopes don't get it. There are a lot of dopes in government. So the new Siena College poll, which is a New York organization, has Donald Trump within 8 points in New York. But more than that, well, let's take a look at New York first, okay? So do we have that up, Ted? Among black voters, among Latino, and among Jewish. So I would say let's look at this. Let's look at this, not for the purpose of trying to figure out if he can win New York. We're too early to make a calculation on New York. We may even be too early for some of the other Democratic states that, like Minnesota, that have voted Democratic forever, like Pennsylvania, which goes back and forth. We may be too early to do much more than to say, like if I were to rate those three, I would say the one most likely that he'll win is Pennsylvania, second most likely Minnesota, least likely it'd be New York. Do I now say that New York, as I did 4 years ago, is out of the question? No. No, I do not believe it's out of the question. This is another poll in which he's within 8 points. I won an election in New York when I was down by 12. So, and I came to within 1% of winning when I was down by 20. So I know what happens in New York with Republicans. Everybody is expected to be a Democrat, and they will by a couple of point margin come out that way. Now, among black voters, right now in the Siena College poll, it's 59-29 Trump. Now, that is a sea change. I would imagine at election time, I think it was about 8% Trump in New York. So that's a 21-point gain. More significant, really, though, is the 89 or 90% drop by Biden. That's that's like the bottom falling out. Now, forget the Trump part. That may go down. I mean, I think everyone figures if he gets 21, he's going to have a landslide. I think, to me, I'd be much more concerned in watching this as a Biden, at the paucity of the black vote for Biden at this point. It can only grow so much in the time that's left. And that many people not voting for him makes a really big argument for staying at home. It makes it's what creates that kind of dissatisfaction with your party's candidate, creates a great deal of stay-at-home attitude. You know, it might be hard for black, any group of voters that vote, for a long time for one political party. Any political expert will tell you they first break away from the party before they go to the new party. And that's why Hispanics are kind of ahead of blacks. They've been breaking away for 3-4 cycles now. And in small increments, even back when I was running, uh, my Hispanic number went up every year that I ran, almost to 50% when I ran for reelection in 97. I think it was like 48 or 49. And it began somewhere at 32, and then 40, and then 48 or 49. But in each case, Hispanic votes had dropped from the Democrat. So they drop into this big undecided stay at home category. And then over a period of time, you pick up some of them, and he won't be 8%. But over a period of time, you pick up a lot of the people that went into that undecided bucket, particularly if you do a good job for them, like he did. I mean, part of this is a reward for the good job that he did for the minority communities when he was president. And not all, but many can see through the garbage. I mean, the racist charge against Trump, among a number of completely silly, false, baseless charges, that one is one of the worst. The guy, if anything, was an egalitarian. They used to get accused of that in Palm Beach, letting everybody in a club. Blacks, slimy Italians, Jews. Oh my God, the WASP went crazy. I mean, they'll take money from us and talk to us, but they want us in their clubs. Well, that doesn't go on anymore much, but it used to go on. And nobody was a bigger opponent of that than Trump. And a lot of that flag dispute was him symbolically fighting that battle with them. And now, man, he gets some of the credit for opening those places up. And his place was always open. So the Latino vote, I think is wrong. How do you like that? And I think the Jewish vote is right. I think he has a much bigger Latino vote. Nationally, he's tied. It would stand to reason that in New York, he wouldn't be as doing as well with the Latino vote as he is in Arizona, Mexico, New Mexico, Texas, and Florida. Because the Latino vote in New York City has traditionally been a heavy Democratic vote. But to see Biden with almost the same Latino vote as black vote, and to see Trump with less of a Latino vote than a black vote makes no sense. There's something wrong with the poll here. I'm not saying that Trump is leading among Latinos, but I would guarantee you anything that he's within 10 to 6 points on the Latino vote, even in Democratic New York. Could be at 5. And there's a chance he could win it in New York, a good chance he'll win it nationally. The Jewish vote seems about right. That seems about right. 52-46. Yeah, almost there. Almost at a tie. Time to go. Big movement. Big movement. That was in New York City, was about 32% at election time. And we're talking about the group that's most likely to vote. Voter turnout among Jews is always high. Voter turnout with Israel in peril is going to be off the charts. You don't have to create an issue for them, and Biden is alienating them every day. He is going to be left with the Jews who hate Israel. He can be left with that percentage of Jewish people who hate the state of Israel because they are more internationalists than they are Jewish. Some of them are more communist than they are Jewish. I mean, you can't be Jewish and communist. Communists don't believe in God. Jews are defined by God. They brought the monotheistic God into Western civilization, correct? So you do have a significant number of Jews, whatever the core vote will turn out to be, maybe a little more, and you say, well, he's much better on Israel. Well, that makes it worse for you with that group. But that doesn't comprise more than about a third. So Biden is still overperforming. But let's put it this way. If Trump had that vote 4 years ago, it would be too big to rig. If he had 46% of the Jewish vote last time, some of those swing states drop immediately. Similarly with the black vote. You don't have to gain a single white vote at this point. Gets the same white vote that he had last time. These two changes take place. Even forget the Latino change. These two changes take place. And you think of how this could be the marginal vote that swings Michigan. Michigan has a small but dedicated Jewish population. It has a black population. Wisconsin, both. Georgia, major black population and small Jewish population. But those are like 90-10 votes and 70-30 votes coming down dramatically. And you're going to have, I don't think that among blacks and Latinos, given the fact that they're in a major transition, and there isn't a major issue drawing them to the polls, there can be a lot of people who don't vote. But among Jews, they have to vote. Israel is compelling them to vote. Even the ones who will come out and vote against Israel, they're angry. So that vote's going to take place. And it usually almost always does. You don't get a lot of stay-at-homes. Now, the interesting thing is, although there was a national poll yesterday that had Trump losing nationally, even in that poll, in all of the swing states but one, he was ahead, but not nearly as ahead as the Emerson College and Hill poll shows him now. That one has him ahead. Do you have that chart with the numbers?
No.
You don't? Okay.
Which one?
Arizona, Georgia. Oh, I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. Well, let me just read it. Yep. This one, I think everybody can retain this one. He's leading in Arizona by 4 points. This is all after the conviction, right? We want to know, how did the conviction change things? He's leading in Arizona that he lost last time by 4 points. Lost but disputed. He's leading in Georgia by 4 points. Lost but disputed. He's leading in Michigan by 1 point. Lost but disputed. He's leading in Nevada by 3 points. Lost. Should have been disputed, but wasn't. He's leading in Pennsylvania by 2. Lost but disputed. And he's leading in Wisconsin by 3 points. Lost but disputed. Now, none of them are massive leads. The fact that they're all leads is very significant. And this is where the election gets decided, obviously, in those states. You could be winning the popular vote by 10%. And if those states go the way it looks here, the election's over. But in fact, it becomes a popular vote loss and a big electoral vote win. It gets at the stage of as big or bigger than Biden's win. And the interesting thing is, how come he's leading in all of the ones that he was leading in on election night, and after they stopped counting and started counting again, he lost every one? Create any possibility that maybe the people who are justly complaining of fraud in the last election may have something to their case? It is strange he's ahead in every single one that was taken from him. Yeah, he was ahead in all of those on election night, too. And he lost all of them. Every single one, they stopped counting and he lost. Does it tell you maybe that the stop counting process means, without any doubt, Biden wins? Somebody told me that a day into it. They're going to stop counting when Biden wins. According to the issues, the economy is number one. And of course, that works really, really strongly for Trump, particularly in these states where they've been hit a little harder. And then immigration is either number 2 or a strong number 3. And you put those two together, and it becomes an across the board win for Trump in the states you need to lock up the electoral voter right now, 1 week before the debate. Money also, Trump has turned it all around. I mean, at one time, Biden had all the money. Now in May, in fact, in the last 3 months, each month, both Trump and the Republican organizations have way outraised the Democrats, even with all of their fancy left off the cliff Hollywood stars, or at least the ones who aren't, getting caught for drugs or DWI or beating somebody up or like having guns go off by themselves. Isn't that amazing with Alec Baldwin? See, this is why he's in favor of gun control, because he thinks his gun went off by itself. This is like, it's a perfect piece of bullshit, isn't it? Coming from a complete liar. The guy for years has been in favor of gun control. And people answering him say, hey, stupid Alec, the gun doesn't commit the crime, the person does. Now he shoots and kills a girl, and his defense is, I didn't pull the trigger even though it was in my hand. The trigger went off by itself, which proves that guns are inherently dangerous. You realize how insulting that is? Look, I don't know. At one point, he had an argument for mistake, for negligence. Now the evidence that's coming out is very damning. Apparently, there's a tremendous amount of evidence that the prosecutor has about how reckless he was with the use of that gun, including waving it around as a pointer on set, shooting on set when he wasn't supposed to, rushing the young lady who went to jail for not checking it out, but rushing her to get everything done for him, and then horsing around with guns for which there appears to be video. That will all be presented on his trial that begins in July, and his defense is that the Holy Ghost shot the gun. See, he was holding the trigger like this. He wasn't even pointing it at the girl, he says. And then it just lifted up all by itself. Oh my God, poor Alex. The gun went off on him. Imagine that would happen to all the lefties in Hollywood, right? They would never shoot anybody. The gun would go off. And if you're a lefty, you can have a defense like that, right? Like Biden, I can take bribes because I'm a Democrat. That's why I can take 31 million from China. And if you want to ask me questions like, did that affect why you gave back an airbase 400 miles from China and put America in jeopardy, which would almost seem to be the act of a traitor? The answer is, you can't ask me that question. I'm a Democrat. And you can't get the tape of my interview with the independent counsel, even though you have the transcript and everybody says the transcript is a fraud based on my lying White House changing it. But I'm not going to show you the tape. It might prove that my White House and I lie all the time. It might also prove that I am as crazy as I look. So Trump raised $140 million in May, Biden 85. Trump has 116.5 in cash. Biden has 91.6. Used to be Biden had double and triple what Trump had in cash. It looks like things are evening up a bit. I don't know, and I don't believe that money will make the biggest difference, will make as big a difference as it could make with less known candidates. But on the margin, it will make a difference. If a point has to be driven home, it makes a difference for Trump because of the unfairness of the media. He's going to have to spend money, which Biden doesn't. I mean, the minute KJP said that they doctor the tapes to make Biden look demented, immediately the left wing Pravda reporters like Joe Scarborough, and they all, of course, the doctors are the tapes are doctored. They're doctored. They're doctored. They're doctored. 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 Doesn't have to do a commercial. He's got it all over the place. We have to do commercials when, for example, he lies about how he's going to crack down on immigration. We now have more immigrants coming in per day than under any other president but him. That's his answer to a crackdown. 3,200 a day. What happened to the 2,500 rule? Well, it was a big lie. But you're not going to find that out from everybody who says doctor, 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 doctor. You're not going to find that out. So we're going to have to tell you that on the Rudy Giuliani Show, America's Mayor Live, War Room, Mark Levin. I mean, Hannity. You got a whole bunch of people will tell you that, but they're all over the place. They're not that one little dial. You just go all those dials. I mean, you go on the regular old-fashioned television. It's wall to wall. Biden lying. Oh, they doctored that tape when it looked like he was didn't know how to sit down. There was a chair below him. Yeah, but he sure as hell didn't seem to know it. You said, I mean, do you ever do that? I mean, the chair's right there. You turn around, you touch it. There's the chair. You sit down. I mean, this guy looked like they were kind of putting the mummy. They had like the things from above, lowering the mummy into the chair. Maybe he is. We'll see in the debate. Maybe that's why he has to be on the right side, because they can only point him in one direction. If he has to go like this, if he has to go like this, it becomes a major movement by Charlie McCarthy or Edgar Bergen. Yeah, Edgar Bergen was the ventriloquist, and Charlie McCarthy was the puppet. So Obama will be back there going like this. Time to look at him. Scowl. Smile. Too late. Could be. It's taken a whole week to prepare for this debate. Imagine everything having to do with the world goes on hold. As China plots to take over the world, as Iran figures out how the hell it could speed ahead to being a nuclear power so that it can bomb Israel, and then us. As Kim Jong-un tries to figure out, how can I take advantage of this and lob a couple of bombs over Japan to scare the hell out of them. As everybody tries to take advantage of us economically, as the Ayatollah says, I got a clear path to being nuclear now. Biden takes a week off to get ready for a debate where if he were really the president, he would only have to take a couple of hours off to freshen up because he would know the answer to these things. Plus, he's going to have the nicest group of kiss-ass reporters you could find. You can't get better than the two of them in terms of hating Trump and buying all kinds of craziness. I mean, these go back to Russian collusion devotees. What they're doing, what they're even doing in journalism after that is hard to understand. They are hard drive Russian earmarks partisans. So I'm going to take a short break and a little bit of a counter-right movement going on. Does that mean it's going to happen in the U.S. if it's going on in Europe and in South America? Usually it does. Let's see. We'll take a look at that when we come back.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back to the Rudy Giuliani Show. What I was pointing to at the end of the last segment was you look at Europe and you look at South America. Now, they're slightly different. Europe is reacting to a problem that we're reacting to, but even later on in the process, and that is open immigration. And it is almost uniformly, like the United States, the left-wing elite is very much for it. Treats you like some kind of Neanderthal if you think a country should have borders. And the vast majority of the population is very much for it, and it thinks it's a matter of common sense. So in the United States, the last measure of that number was 63%. I believe it's much higher than that, particularly since in that poll, 53% of Hispanics agree. And I should say that's right. I mean, because the question was a harder question. The question was, are you in favor of expelling everyone here illegally? Now, everyone includes all the so-called contrived sympathetic cases. Oh, that poor kid was born here. His mother may have been illegal and his father a drug dealer, but he was born here. It's not his fault. Not my fault either. So who are we going to penalize here? Who are we going to help? Who are we going to penalize? We can't have everybody. When we have everybody, we put people in bad classrooms. In New York, we actually just throw them out of their classes and make them watch school on television while the illegals get used to the classroom and much better meals than our homeless or our veterans. In New York, we give them credit MasterCards in case they don't like the meals they're getting from the government. We don't do that for our kids. We give them crap in the public schools, usually from politically connected people who have gotten the contract with kickbacks involved. And every once in a while, there are worms and garbage and all kinds of crap in the food. I don't think teachers eat the food at the public schools anymore. I mean, there was one guy, a big contributor to Biden, to Adams, who every one of his homeless, he was making well over $1 million a year with his homeless contracts with New York City, which were no bid, and he also owned the food concession. See, what they do is, I mean, these are con men. When I got to do a special because I can trace it way back to the very beginning of the Great Society because it's part of my conversion to being a Republican. When you talk about all of this money to help the poor, that the Democratic Party likes to take advantage of to put them on a moral high ground, it's exactly what Biden does when he tells you, I'm going to close the borders, like he did 2 weeks ago. And more people are coming in now than under any other American president. He even gave you a number, 2,500. And he's exceeded that number every day. He doesn't care what he says. He says what he thinks you want to hear, and he needs to say so that he can win by hook or by crook. Well, this has been true of the Democratic Party since way back. So it sounds great, like the Ministry of Peace sounds terrific in 1984, but it's the one that carries on the wars. So they say, well, we're the party that takes care of the poor people. We're going to have the Model Cities program, and we're going to have more money for this and more money for that, and pre-education, and boom. Now you take a look at it over a 30-year period, a 40-year period, and you say to yourself, like Claiborne just did in South Carolina, things haven't improved in his district since he's been in Congress. Well, his district has gotten a fortune. And all this pass-out money. How about during the pandemic? His district has gotten enough money so it could be a French resort. Except for some reason, Clyburn, it didn't get to the poor people. Now, I know it better in New York, like in detail. I got it memorized. I probably can tell you, if all I have to do is look at the district and the number, I'll tell you where it went. Just take a look at who's doing the contracts and how much more money they're charging in New York than they charge someplace else. And you'll get an idea of what a crooked city I live in. But the real people who suffer from that are the very poor people they try to indenture as their voters. And they do a good job of it. I mean, if you were to poll those people, for example, most of them would say they're for vouchers, they're for choice in education. They think the public school system is horrible. They think it's racist. Then they vote like 90% for the candidate who's against changing the public school system and against the very charters that 60% of them want. And this is an exercise in lying. You can call it propaganda. You can call it an exercise in being thoroughly amoral and dishonest, being a horrible human being. A person who lies for a living, which many politicians do, are horrible human beings. You would not want them as friends. You wouldn't want them around your children. And they make up, unfortunately, a good portion of the Democrat Party, and a lot of the big money goes through their hands, which is why you can say, with all that money spent in those places, why are they worse off than they were before? With all the money spent on education in New York, since I was mayor, they've dropped 20 positions in math and in science. We used to be near the top. We're below the middle now. And we've gone up from 17,000 a student to 34,000. Almost every penny of which dropped us further and further and further down. And one of the last priorities of the New York City school system is educating the children, if you can call it a priority. New York City school system has very little to do with educating children. It's a job protection program. If you just look at the disproportionate number of bureaucrats to teachers who you absolutely don't need, you realize it's a job protection system to maximize the number of people and the revenue for the Marxist, communist teachers union, which started as a communist union and continues to be. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back with the mayor's final thoughts. Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Welcome back to the Rudy Giuliani Show and the mayor's final thoughts, which are sponsored by Tunnel to Towers. And you just heard the commercial for Tunnel to Towers. So please donate your $11 to the organization that takes care of our service members, our uniform members, when they need us the most, when they're hurt seriously in the line of duty, when they're shot and killed, or when they become homeless. In all those situations, Tunnel to Towers and Frank Siller, the Siller family, both the nuclear family and the whole big family of which you should be a part, take care of them. And you should be a part of it by making an $11 contribution to Tunnel to Towers now. T2T.org. T, the number 2T.org. Send it in now in honor of my last daytime show for now. Who knows if we're going to be back? So I thought maybe I'd spend a minute explaining the whole genesis of this. I can't remember if I did my daytime show or my podcast first. I think I did my podcast first. I decided in 2019, because I knew the 2020 election would be so great, and I talked it over with the president, who at that time was my client, and this is not a privileged conversation. I said, at the end of 16, they did a lot to try to cut me out, to try to cut Bannon out, to try to cut your son out. And we got around that. I spent most of 2016 traveling with him, starting in about June. 24 hours a day, meaning I met him in the morning, I left him at night. And on the road, I slept same floor, next room. And it really helped. It was constant discussion, policy discussion, constant strategy discussion. I mean, he doesn't talk about anything but business except sports. And of course, I love sports too, so it was perfect. And Jared selected me for that role because, and I'm going to just be totally straight with you, because I was in my law firm at the time, and I was being called over every other day to settle debates. And he said, we know the president makes up his own mind, but you got to understand he does take advice, but he does most often stick with his own decision because it's usually right for him. But he also will change his mind. And Jared decided that I was one of the people he would listen to the most. He had some other close friends, even closer than me, but they weren't policy-oriented. And they didn't have the advantage of having run in a presidential campaign himself, having been a chief surrogate in 3, a keynote speaker at 2 conventions, a mayor of a city, a prosecutor. So I had a lot of experience, and they didn't have a lot of experience. I mean, which was mostly a plus and somewhat of a minus. And I was getting called over, like when the whole hullabaloo came about with the president calling them animals and saying he would have special vetting for the people from the terrorist lands, and they tried to make that into he's a xenophobe. He's absolutely right. I wrote with several very distinguished lawyers a legal memo defending it that became part eventually of the implementation of it. Other things would go on. I would come over. And at one point, Jared said, I think it'd be great if you just travel. I said, I can't. I got to give up my job. Well, I did. And I traveled with him. And toward the end of the campaign, we decided that we were going to take our 3, 4, or 5 top surrogates and send them out separately so that we could have, quadruple outreach. So a lot of the decisions at the end of the campaign were made by a combination of David Bossie and Steve Bannon, and of course the president. So Bossie would get the numbers, and we would decide: are we going to go to the West Coast and hit maybe Nevada and Arizona? I mean, California. Once we didn't need money, California, no. Or would we be better off? Would be better off trying to hit the middle of the country? And then, if we have a choice, do we go to Minnesota or do we go to Pennsylvania? And those are, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, those are the main choices. But then you want to send somebody to the second choice and the third choice. So I was one of those, along with Donald Jr., et cetera. They got me a little plane, a little crew, and we were a mini Trump machine doing that. And then when I finished, I said, we're going to need a bigger voice. The conservative media needs a bigger voice, which I've been concerned about going back to the beginning of Fox when I gave them their station in New York because of the First Amendment and was sued for it. So I decided I'm going to start my own. And I started my podcast. ABC started, and they asked me if I would do a show. And it was very flexible, went anywhere from 1 to 3 hours a day. Started that in February of 2020. Did it all throughout the campaign. Did it every day. Some days, I did it every day. I carried the stuff with me down to Washington. I would do it in Washington. I do it in a hotel. I do it in my room. I do it as I traveled. I was working as a lawyer at the time, worked on the impeachment. I did it all throughout the whole January 6th thing. My podcasts are historic. My podcasts have the first interviews with the Ukrainians who can be eyewitnesses against Biden on bribery, and they have contemporaneous criticism of the handling of the pandemic by Dr. Maria, and you should go back and look at them. We intend to put them together in a form that will make it easier for you to do that. And I was on WABC for quite some time. And as you know, I left. You could say I was fired. You could say I refused their conditions. You can say anything you want. I'm not on. And the whole reason, with all the lying that's been done, and I am so offended by the lying, I'm much more offended by the lying than not being there. I was never told that I could not discuss the 2020 election, ever. By anyone. The best evidence of that is for 3 years, I discussed the 2020 election. I did agree because of my lawsuit not to discuss certain things in the lawsuit. And I didn't. And that isn't the reason I left. The reason I left is because something new had just come up in the 2020 election, the discovery of 375,000 missing ballots in Georgia, which to me is a smoking gun. Why would they destroy 375,000 ballots if they never would let us see the ballots in the first place? So I left. And then I'm on here. And now, starting next week, I'll be on 8 o'clock on X, like I always am, on America's Mayor Live, which is now has had 500 shows, 800 shows, Ted? And
435.
435 shows.
87 weeks.
And we've been up to over 1 million in audience. And we're going to start a week from Monday, this show, but it's going to be on at 7 o'clock at night on Frank's TV. Frank's Speech TV, which you can get
the app
all over the place. Get the app. It's the easiest thing to do, but you can find it on Roku. You can find it on Apple. You can find it all over, and we'll make sure you get it.
Yeah.
And we have a week to make sure we get it to you. So I want to thank you for Any of you who still hang over from the ABC audience, I want to thank you very, very much for your unbelievable support. You may be the #1 show in New York in that time slot in a very short period of time against my good friend Hannity. And I left on that high. I regret very much what happened because I feel the personal lying and deception, and then the censorship is unforgivable. No, this is not about me. It's not about Trump. It's about the First Amendment. You cut off discussion of the 2020 election, you are making it much more possible for rampant corruption in the 2024 election. Democrats are watching that carefully. So I don't intend to shut up, and nobody's going to get me to do it. So we'll see you tonight at 8 on X. We'll see you next week, all week on X at 8 o'clock. And a week after, we start a whole new show. And we also have other surprises for you that we're going to start. But you'll see, it's going to be fabulous. And thank you very much. And stick with us. We got a long way to go, because we got to take this country back. And we got to get it back to being the great republic that it used to be. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of the United States. And God bless America.